Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tech Work Online. My name is Nell Carpenter, and I'm the Youth Program Manager at Vermont Works for Women. So Vermont Works for Women is a nonprofit. We're based in Winooski, Vermont. Our organization helps women and girls recognize their potential and explore, pursue, and excel in work that leads to economic independence. We do this in a number of ways, and obviously work with our youth program. This is one of them, in addition to Tech at Work, which is typically an in-person speaker series. We do career exploration events, summer camps, and after-school programs. So Tech at Work Online is a career exploration speaker series that introduces Tech Center students to gender-diverse role models in their fields of interest and provides opportunities to learn more about career options. So like I said, we typically do these in tech centers, and we'll be working with select programs. And so the fields we talk about align with the programs taught in Vermont's career and tech ed centers. So today we are so excited, I am so excited to welcome Sabrina Fadial to talk about welding. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Sabrina over the last year, and I'm super excited to welcome her here today. So we'll just start with a fun one. Kind of how did you end up doing what you do now, and what inspired you to end up here?
Oh, it was the best, biggest mistake ever. I went to RISD for undergrad and had done glass blowing there, and it had been a long time. And I signed up. I had started teaching high school, and so I had my summers off to do things. And I took a class or signed up for glass blowing at Penland Craft School in North Carolina. And they called me a week before and said, "We've made a horrible mistake. Glass blowing is full. Do you mind if we put you in blacksmithing?" I said, "Nope, go ahead, sign me up. It'll still be fun." And it changed my life. And the next summer I went to Haystack and took a sheet metal class. The next summer I quit my job teaching at the high school and built a smithy in my backyard. And that was the start of it all, or the start of things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, wow, of all the things I know about you, I did not know that it started with, I guess you could call it a mistake or a mix-up. So
Just keeping yourself open to opportunities that come your way, right?
yeah, absolutely.
If you hate it, hey, you learned you hated it. And
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone watching, could you just kind of fill us in on exactly what the myriad of things that you do currently are, and kind of what is most exciting in your life right now in terms of this field that you're in?
so the current projects I'm working on, I am making some light fixtures and chandeliers, doing forged iron work, and then I'll also be doing the electrical and wiring of said light fixtures, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I just finished up a nice railing that goes along a gate, doing decorative architectural ironwork and things of that sort, railings and gates and chandeliers and giant sculptures of abstract flowers, things like that too. So it's not all necessarily functional in the traditional sense. Its function can be that it's just something beautiful sitting there.
Yeah. Are those projects primarily driven by commissions, or kind of, can you speak a little bit to the dynamic of how does a project come on your doorstep? What are you most excited to engage with?
The projects that have come through my studio have been so wildly diverse, from a friend who's a builder who's working on a house and they need a railing for their deck, and he says, "Call Sabrina." And then so I get a railing. I was invited to be the sculptor in residence at High Point University last year in North Carolina, and the part of that residency started the year with installing a sculpture for a year at the university, and they bought it on the spot when I installed it, which was a lovely surprise, right?
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes things like that happen, and then I make art, and I make what I need to make and what needs to be created, and that gets sold via galleries or shops or my website, things like that. And it's really been a life of cobbling together the strangest professions. I've done decorative interior house painting and murals, and I've done alterations and sewing, and which is, by the way, pattern making and cutting is directly translates to metalwork and pattern cutting and welding. And just, if you can sew something, you can weld and fabricate something like that.
Yeah, that's cool to hear how everything kind of combines. And yeah, I think that theme of, I'm hearing a lot of that, just like do it, say yes. It doesn't need to, one thing doesn't necessarily need to make sense with what you did before or lead you along one linear pathway.
Well, I think no matter what you do, you're going to learn something. And so no education is ever a waste. Right? Yeah. And so if you learn something, great, it will apply somehow in your life. You just never know.
I guess it's impossible really to ask you what is an average day in the life like, because it seems like every day is probably very different.
Yeah. I'll walk you through yesterday.
There we go. Perfect.
Which is kind of a dream day, if the weather had been a little warmer. Right? So I got up, I had coffee, and while still in my jammies, put on my boots and my coat and went out to the shop to turn the heat on. So I go back to the house, finish my coffee, emails, stuff of morning, right? And then came out to the studio / shop around 9 and turned the forge on, and then dug out some scrap metal and did some banging on metal, making kind of calla lily forms to be light fixtures. And lunch break and walk with my dog, and then back into the studio in the afternoon. But then I got frustrated because I needed to use my bigger forge, but I have to do some repairs on said forge before using it again. So I came into the other side of the studio and decided to work on this leather handbag that I've been making. So
love that. I love that. I mean,
right. So I was like, I'm still being creative. It's not the project that necessarily has a client waiting for me, but I know if I had kept working in there, I would have gotten frustrated and it would have gotten messed up, and I would redo it, or it wouldn't be as good as I think it needs to be. And it's better just to let it rest. Today I've had webinars all day long, and so it's been weird, but setting up for tomorrow morning to deal with all the toxic fiberfrax linings and start the day and fix the forge. Right. Do that. And then I can move forward with the fun stuff. You know, and then if it were warmer, there would have been time in the evening in the garden, and I have extensive gardens happening out here this spring.
Yeah, it does sound very dreamy, and I think that
Stevens Branch Studios and Sculpture Garden, and so I've got to get that garden at some point.
So maybe if you could tell us a little bit about your studio and the kind of artists who you host there and how that works.
Yeah, so I run Stevens Branch Studios, which is in South Barry, Vermont, and it's a creative incubation space. So really I work with people on a one-on-one basis, and people come to me for all different projects. If I want to make fill in the blank. There was a woman down in Woodstock who wanted to make a crozier hook for the new Episcopal bishop. And she didn't know how to do it, but she had some basic welding skills. And so she came up and we worked through, and so I taught her, and she had access to studio space to come and work and do her project. I've also had students come and have a corner of the studio that's theirs for 3 months, and it's a more extended project that's been proposed, and they just need access. I also have a weekly student coming for painting. So there's a variety of people coming and going. Eventually there will be short-term housing available on the property, but that's under construction and renovation and not code worthy yet. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. It sounds like just a hub of creativity and support and learning.
It's been really exciting. I've had, what have I had? I've had actually a nice round even dozen projects come through here in the last 3 years, and they've been a very length, and some are super short and sweet. One person needed to come and make protest flags, and because I supported the cause, I've come and the sewing machine, and you know, another woman brought her own sewing machine and just needed space to spread out to cut fabric, and I've got that. And so people utilize the studio for a variety of reasons, for a variety of time, which is really fun.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm wondering, it sounds like there's so many things to love about what you do in your day-to-day. I'm wondering if you could name what you love most about what you do, and what one of the biggest challenges about what you do.
What I love most is that the majority of my days are filled doing exactly what I want to do, whether it's in the studio or the garden or the shop or hanging out in the river with my dog, right? And it's all right here. Grow where you're planted, right? So here I am, and it's someone said to me, Sabrina, you're so lucky, you're living the dream. And I was like, yeah, but with dreams come nightmares. Also dreams. And so yes, I'm living the dream, and I'm wildly thankful and totally stunned that this is my life, right? That not at all how I started out in the world. And if you had told me 15 years ago I'd be homesteading in Vermont, I would have been like, really? What about my season tickets to the San Francisco Opera? You know? You know, so it's been wonderful to be able to just get to a point in my life that I can choose the work I do and stay true to myself, and really following my bliss and where that's led me. And it's led me here to making and teaching and just living life, which is a beautiful thing. With that, however, you're never not working, you're never not thinking about how are you going to pay the mortgage. It is all on you, all of it, all of the overhead. You have to be a business entrepreneur. You have to know how to file your taxes on time. You've got to know how to do a spreadsheet, because you're running a business, and it's things you don't necessarily get in art school. Or you get a little bit of it, but because you're in college, you go, oh yeah, I'll figure that out along the way. You do figure it out along the way, but it's, you know, the joy of the self-employed is that you are your own boss, but it also means you have to generate every penny.
Yeah.
And
every penny.
And you're always working. It doesn't ever, you're never not thinking about some aspect of your practice.
Yep. Yeah. I'm struck by both your comment about being frustrated with something and then kind of knowing yourself well enough to say, I'm just going to transition and do something else. And I'm like, I really love that. But then also as a business owner, then having to say, okay, well, am I working toward the deadline? Can I take this space? Is that okay? Right. And we all want to take care of ourselves and whatnot, but I imagine it could be harder while you're managing.
Well, thankfully, my clients are wonderful people and very patient. And
of course. Yeah.
I was supposed to be delivering all of this stuff to them this summer, but because of COVID, no road trip. And so then I put off making stuff because of COVID. So creative work.
Yeah.
It will come, but I do have to do it. There's money in accounts receivable. I need to go get it. And
yeah, that's really cool. I hear you. And right, like you can go to the best art school or the best whatever school, and eventually wanting to be self-employed to do that thing takes a whole other skill set. Some people go to school just for business administration.
Yeah, right.
And to have kind of been able to make the dream of having your own studio and making a thing you love is
the moment I can afford a business manager.
right.
Oh, I'll just make stuff. You track the shows, you do everything, run my business.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So the last thing I wonder if you could speak to, because this is a speaker series that seeks to highlight people who are in kind of non-traditional fields or fields in which their genders are represented. If you've ever faced challenges being in your field, working in kind of metalwork and welding because of your gender.
Yeah. And it's never been from fellow blacksmiths or sculptors. They've always been wildly supportive and everything. It's more in the scrap yards and the welding supply store. One time I was walking around this is in North Carolina. I was walking around a welding supply store, and this fella came up to me and said, "Darling, you really should let your husband buy his own tools." And I was just like, "What?"
Oh, my
no.
Yeah.
No, I said, "Bye-bye. You lost."
Yeah. So many assumptions being made.
I will drive further to the next welding shop. I will not shop here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. And, yeah, I mean, I think even just experiencing that, I feel like I've had experiences in just a hardware store. I mean, hardware stores sell like everything, and are you sure you don't need help, sweetie? Or
oh no, yeah, and they, I guess like the local hardware stores around the Aubuchon and Montpelier, they know me, and they know that I'm never looking for anything that's going to be used in the normal way it's supposed to be used.
Right.
Yeah. And they just come say, "So what are you going to make out of this time?"
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Hey, but when, you go up to the big box stores, or I'm traveling around, and you do get that, and you're especially buying tools and equipment, or trying to find work gloves that are a little bit smaller, or is challenges like that. Special order them, great, but I really like to try my glove on and make sure I can fling it off right, and things like that. All of the tools, all the equipment is scaled to a big man. So vice grips, sometimes it's just beyond my reach to be able to grab the thing. So there are different challenges. It's just a small frame, and there are more accommodations in that area now, but yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's one more thing to think about on top of all of that. Well, I think we're gonna start wrapping up. Is there anything else you want to add? Any advice you would want to give to a young person interested in welding or metal work, or just
dive in, try it, watch YouTube videos. There's so many out there. You'll get so many ideas. You'll get good insight. Stay safe, keep a good healthy respect to fire. It's hot, it will burn you. And have fun and enjoy the process of learning and figuring it out, because you're going to also, any welding you learn how to do, you're going to get really good with a grinder too. And so you have your 4-inch grinder, that's your tool.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, Sabrina, for joining us. I'm excited. We'll be able to have in this video some videos of Sabrina working in her studio. for you all to see. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of these pieces, and they are not small by any means in terms of the creative energy behind them or physically. So the last thing I'm going to do is share a screen with just some discussion questions. If anyone is watching this for a class, and so feel free to pause here and chat about some of these questions, and then we'll stop that. So thank you so much, Sabrina.
Thank you.
We're so grateful to have you in our network and wish you the best in all of your upcoming project endeavors.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks now.